Everybody, mind standing for open up with the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, welcome everybody. Roll call, please.
Mr. Brickner.
Here.
Mr. Stone.
Here.
Ms. Graham.
Here.
Mr. Sims.
Present.
Mr. Bozak.
Here. Oh, they don't work.
Mr. Vasquez.
Last, of course, please.
Mr. Rivas.
No, the mics. Mr. President, I would like to announce the mics are off, just so everyone knows there was a power surge they just alerted us to, so they are recording it, but that's why we have this super smart TV in here.
The mics are off?
The mics are off.
Mics are off.
So if you can't hear me back there,
We'll have to use our command voices
We don't normally
tonight.
do this anyway.
Let's see, how about approval of minutes?
I make a motion to approve minutes.
Second.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, minutes, first reading, please.
The following appropriations come before you for your consideration tonight. General fund, hourly, $40,000. Maintenance agreement, $6,000. MDH restricted, fund 1169, transfer $30,000. ADR fund 2200, legal services, $5,000. Prosecutor deferral fund 2501, FICA 15,211. PERP 24,231. Prosecutor pretrial fund 2503, FICA 4,142, PERP 6,475. Inmate processing fund 4911, training and education 15,000. Foundation building fund 4921, transfer 1,500,000. Soil and water conservation fund 4931, salaries $10,620.40. FICA $973.10, per $1,189.48. LR&B match grant fund 9400, transfer $30,000. First reading.
Thank you for that. I think first on the agenda, we have a special presentation. Commissioner?
Ready?
Ready when you're ready.
I'm ready. Well, cool. We are really excited. You can flip to the next page. We're really excited to talk about this project. We have 4 capital projects going on. You know about 3, and we're here to tell you about the 4th one, and that's the health department renovation. Just to give you a perspective on the phases that we're going to be talking about tonight, we actually approved in April of 2023 the RFP to hire an architect for this project. And last Tuesday at our commissioners meeting, we awarded the contract to Bergman to actually work on these 3 phases that we're going to be talking about today. But what we did, though, to get to this point, some of you may recognize the new voters registration over at 157, now 155 Franklin. And that is opening up space for us to talk about the rest of the project, and I'm going to turn it over to Joe.
Thank you. So we've got 3 phases planned out for this project. The first phase, as you can see, encompasses the old voters registration area. The second and third phases are predominantly in the health department area. So we're going to begin those phases, and we'll talk a little bit about the dates for those, but let's go to the next one, and we'll talk about what we have existing. So right now we've got approximately 1,985 square feet that we're going to begin demolition and reconstruction on. This is the old voters registration department. We're taking over that entire area, and we're going to turn it into the next page, which will consist of the Veterans Department and the new coroner's office space. Both of these departments are like jam-packed, beyond capacity, so this gives them additional capacity allows the Veterans Department to meet with their clients more privately instead of just in open spaces, which is not conducive to discuss matters with veterans. The Coroner's Department also will have a private office, but she'll also be gaining some expansive storage capacity there as well. So we're looking forward to that. The next slide we have discusses the existing conditions, and I can let Carrie go through what the existing conditions are, but it's phased out in 2 phases. So the second phase of this project, once phase 1 is complete, we'll move into phase 2, which will entail the front end of their entire department space. They'll be moving into the phase 3 area while phase 2 gets underway, and then vice versa, when phase 3 gets started, they'll move back into the new phase 2 area, which is on the next slide. So this is what it will look like when it's completely built out. We're going to be maximizing a lot of the existing space there for the health department. We'll also be making improvements to our conference room down there as well. So that will actually take place after this November election, so that area won't be touched until after that's done and complete. We've got early voting done, and we're timing this accordingly. So that is the extent of...
Before we move on, anybody have any questions about this? Because Carrie's here,
Yeah.
and she was the one that actually pretty
about the
much-
health department
Yeah.
improvements.
The conference room, will that be larger than it is right now then? It looks kind of like it, but
I think it's the same size,
Same size?
is my understanding. So what we're, sorry, go ahead.
Commissioner Bridgestone, we are moving the conference room over,
oh.
and you'll see that there's now 2 entrances to it, and you will enter the conference room from the hallway.
Instead of
As
walking down a
opposed to-
separate hallway
Right,
as it
right.
is now.
Yeah, that's awesome.
What's a dirty room? Yeah. What's a dirty room?
So that
Not
is
what you're
where,
thinking.
where the garbage and our sharps disposal and our used medications disposal, our state medications disposal.
The one new thing that you can appreciate is there's not currently a restroom in the health department. And so when they have patients come in that need to get a urine sample or whatever, they have to go outside of the health department, across the hall, into the public restroom. So this is going to make that situation a lot better. Do you want to talk about any of the other features that you just want to point out?
So I will say, much like the coroners and veteran services office, we really truly are busting at the seams down there, and actually more so before we were graciously allowed to move over into 102 ahead of the project even. We have a lot more customers coming in, and she can meet with staff now with Carrie as care coordinator. She meets with a lot of community members. And so this just kind of allows that private office for those things to happen. We were able to gain an extra exam room. We were able to gain a proper vaccine storage room. So currently our vaccine storage room is not set up with the HVAC that you would ideally have in there, right? So those machines run, they're hot, we need them to maintain a certain temperature. And so we're able to gain a larger room to be able to fit all that we need for our current storage for that and all of our supplies, as well as be properly ventilated so that those machines can operate at their optimum capacity. We also are able to gain spaces for those people who need their own space. At the same time, we're able to gain workable spaces in the areas where people work together. So the way that we're able to reconfigure the nursing clerical staff and then have vital records have their own area with their own separate window, it really is just going to improve our customer service all around. We were also able to gain, it's really exciting for all of us too, an area for our staff that work in the field, or maybe it's staff that work in Portage, but they have to be in Valpo for the day. We were able to gain space for them to come and plug in their Service Pros and work. Right now, you sit at somebody's desk and then they come back and they have to get up and search for an area, go to a conference table, somebody comes for a meeting. So we just are very excited to be able to, as well, locate our space for like our printer, copier, fax machine, all of that in a central location. And we're also just really excited to all be joined together again. So we're we're really over the top of the way that this all turned out.
Now we can talk about how long this project's going to take, so if you want to move ahead, we'll talk about the phasing on this. So right now, we've got Phase 1, which is set to start August 5th. We have a kickoff meeting with the general contractor, which is Berglund, on Friday, so we'll be meeting with them, discussing the do's and don'ts, where to go, where not to go, that kind of thing with the contractors, so they know, work hours and access to the building, stuff like that. So we're setting that up on the front end, so that way they know for Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3. So that'll begin and end, August, as I said, and then end of November, they should be finishing up with Phase 1, giving some time for veterans in the coroner's office to mobilize into their new office space. We'll begin Phase 2 in December, and they would complete Phase 2 in April of 2025. So Carrie and her staff will be moving into the Phase 2 area out of Phase 3, and then Phase 3 will begin in April of 25 and ending in August of next year. So it's a long process. We're very happy with the schedule that we went through with the contractor, with the architect, and with staff. So we're very happy with the construction schedule and the phasing of it.
So just so everybody understands, starting in October with early voting, that lower level conference room is going to be out of commission until beginning of August of next year. So Joe is going to be working to find other conference rooms that we could potentially get on our website. So when you're looking to book a conference room, that you actually have some alternatives. They might not be as convenient as being downstairs, but at least there'll be something that will be available.
Yeah, we'll be working on the logistics for that as well, and we have been discussion.
So what you were saying, there will be somewhere to vote, early voting?
Well, early vote, we're not touching early voting at all in this building. We're not touching early voting. So we specifically scheduled the demolition on the health department side to start after that.
Correct. We could kind of talk about, just touch on the cost basis of that, if you want to. Yeah. So basically, total project cost, total contract, we have some other soft costs, third-party costs for Videotech. Clark is the architectural firm that's their fee in that, as well as a contingency of 5% just in case something doesn't go as planned. So the total project cost is there at the 1.5, and then we have our funding sources, which I'm going to let Carrie kind of talk about.
Sure. So, of course, we had received the ARPA funding award of $1 million, and I believe about $55,000 of that was used for the build-out at 155 Franklin. We have the remaining funds there. And we also were able to put aside 10% of the HFI money, the 1161 that we received from the state funds each year. So that'll be 10% from 2024 was $175,000 and some change, and then 10% from 2025 will be almost $339,000. So you'll see when we come before you with our 2025 budget proposal, we actually have that lump sum of $520,576 that we're asking to be a little less than that, 514, something to be appropriated for contractual in that fund for both of those years and that amount. And then we also received some funding from the state for our COVID response that was unallocated funding, and so we have some of that money that we'll be able to use as well, and that's a little bit over $300,000.
So all in all, the funding that Carrie was describing is more than adequate to cover the total cost of the project with the contingencies, the soft costs, and everything. So we'll be well under the financial budget, if you will, for that.
When I had mentioned that all of the bids came in very favorably, these bids came in very favorably also. So we were very pleased.
Now, we had 4 bidders on this thing, which was quite impressive that we had so many. I was expecting less, but I was very happy to get the 4.
And just to give you a perspective on our larger projects, we've actually bid those out separately for all of the different components of the construction. In this case, because it was a smaller dollar amount, we actually had a general contractor who will be managing the project. We don't have it broken down into multiple vendors in this case.
They brought subcontractors, we had all kinds of people working through with us, so it was a good number. Do you have any questions?
Well,
The only question, just for the record, the ARPA money would be well within the time frames on.
Yes, this has been set aside and designated for this from, I believe, the get-go, or
By the end of 2026, that's
26.
your timeline, gives you a little bit of wiggle room as well, so that'll be just fine.
Excellent. Sounds very good.
Carrie, I want to say just a special thank you to you and the health department and all of your people for really making this possible. Coming up with funding, I realize ARPA money, it's working. It's great for the county.
And thank you guys all for your support, council, insurance, everybody, Joe.
And I want to thank these two people too, because you have no idea all the work that went on behind the scenes. And they've done just an incredible job on this project. So, and a special shout out to Carrie. When you need a rabbit being pulled out of it. We ran into an issue when we were in the design phase, and our architect found out that our HVAC is not up to code. And we're just recirculating air in this building. And to be up to code, we had to bring in air from the outside. And I'll ask the person who's in construction, I don't know what it's either recirculating, or I don't know what you call it when you're bringing in fresh air. There's got to be a term for that.
Question?
But
I'm not an HVAC guy, now if you're building a building or a bridge, I might be able to tell you.
But it
I
is.
really not the HVAC guys on that one.
But at any
For
rate,
recirculation, you gotta take outside air and bring it inside, but in the old days, they used to just recirculate.
It's like an air-to-air.
Is that fixing it for the whole building, or just the health department?
no, just the health.
Health department and then the old voters area.
Well, you fix the whole
But it's gonna take pressure off of the other building though.
How about you
I
fix all
can't
new
pull that many
air?
rabbits out of my hat.
I don't want recirculated air, yeah, if they're getting pressure, I want pressure
So
too.
to get fresh air into the building is not an inexpensive proposition, and it was gonna add another $300,000, and we had zero wiggle room in the budget whatsoever. And so that set us back about a month and a half while Carrie went and searched for another funding source. And I just said, Carrie, it's gonna work, you're gonna find it, because it has to work, and she did. So, just really amazing.
We have more than one unit, do we not, to do the air HVAC? Okay, and so the unit that's running the health department is different from, say, the general part of the building?
Yeah.
So that's why, if we were to give Mr. Bozak his fresh air, we're looking at an additional couple $100,000.
Oh, yeah, easy. But be careful what you ask for. You're gonna be hearing more about that later.
I love it, just so you have them know.
But there's a reason,
The rest is gonna come
there's a
through.
reason they have to do it for the health department, which means that conversation is coming down the road, which is
Well,
why I
there's
asked.
more conversations,
Well, plus that new unit's gonna take pressure off the rest of
Right.
the building too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of a win-win for everybody.
Yeah.
So that's all good. Yeah.
Put it this way, it had to be done,
Yes.
to bring it to code.
And if you come to my office and you shut the door, take your, and then you open it, you're like, was I even breathing for the last time?
Okay, great. If there's any more questions, thank you for coming.
Thank you all.
Any other questions from the council, reference to this project?
All good?
Excellent.
Very good.
Thank you
We'll
very
keep you
much.
guys posted too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Capital World Project, presentation. I'm sure you're still up. Mike Jimbo and Jim. Excellent.
My beef bar slash fair
I know you got somewhere to eat.
tire.
Well, one of the things that I have been really hoping to accomplish since I first got in office was to do an expenditure forecast for the council. Because for you to be able to plan appropriately, you need to understand the big numbers, the big projects that are coming down the pipe. And I had hoped to be able to do our buildings at this meeting. We just didn't have the numbers available. But at least we can talk about our infrastructure. And Mike has done a tremendous job in putting together these numbers. just so you know, this is going to be a living document, and we're going to get it on Dropbox or a place where all of you can access it, and you'll be able to, at any point in time, look at this and understand where we are and what the funding needs are going to be in the future. So, I'm going to turn over to Mike.
And I got Jim here to help some of the preservation. He's got some history, but I met with most of you individually. We did talk about our needs for what I call preservation. Preservation is the care and maintenance of our roads, whereas capital projects are either new roads or we're doing major investment in the road, like adding travel lanes, etc. The premise behind the presentation you got in front of you is past. Jim had a budget, LRS, restricted MVH. He was free to use that for things like chip seal, crack seal, etc. like that. INDOT, State of Indiana, came out with the community crossing matching grant, and then we would appear before you and ask for the county's match portion for each of that. And if we could get some extra from time to time, that all went well. You've probably seen presentations where the conditions of our roads and how we rate them. We've got a pretty sophisticated system that takes a look at the condition of them. And if we do this or that, it shows improvement or not improvement to our road system. But the theme, what I want to do is, having all those, they seem to be disjointed in the past. And what you have before you is an attempt to combine all of it as far as what our road needs are, both preservation and as far as what we know capital projects are at this time. Bridge is a separate category. I'd be happy to make a presentation to you, but that is a self-funded program. We are working for a long-range spending plan for that. Actually, we have one, but we're going to make one that's easier digestible. So the first sheet you see before you is what we call the capital road projects. That's the one that's up on the screen right now. We have two major projects that have been in the county purview for quite a few years. The first one is County Road 100 South. That's that area, you know where 500 West is, the main road that goes east all the way from Purdy almost down to the river. And then we break away and we go west, and when you get to the Roley Hill section by the Lakes of the Four Seasons, there's that section. That's the more costly of the two sections. Some of you may not know, Mike, you may be aware of being here the longest. That was the scene of fatal crashes back in the day, hence that's what started the project. There's a lot of sight distance issues because of the vertical curvature of the hills, the succession of hills up, down. There's driveways that are hidden when you crest the hill. And as all of you know, since the opening of the interchange at I-69 109 actually turns into 100 South when you get into Porter Chowdhull. So 100 South has become, not only because we're getting more residential units in Porter County up that way, plus the Lakes of the Four Seasons, plus Winfield, plus the interchange with I-65, that road became very popular and the traffic is increasing. And Jim's here, he can attest to it, the road is getting old and tired in the midst of all that. So the project started out back actually in the 90s. It was supposed to go from county line all the way over State Road 2. It never had the full funding to do that. Then it got put on hold and had a 5-6 year hiatus. Then the project was resurrected again just to address the safety and the capacity issues of the roads. In other words, spot improvements. There were a total of 51 parcels that needed acquisition of right-of-way. We got 50 of them, and the last one is in condemnation. We hope to have that secured sometime later this year. The project, unfortunately, has exceeded the amount of federal funds that we had. If you look there, we got about construction, it's $4,338,000. We estimate the construction part of it to be $6.1 million. Now, these two projects, I show two lines in them. It was one project altogether. The project started, it was in excess of $9 million to construct. So what we did, what we're proposing to INDOT, and we're working toward that, is break it in half to easy, manageable pieces. The county road from 200 feet, 1,000 feet west to 725 feet west. We got the funding to do that project, whereas the second project, we do not have a reliable federal funding source coming, but there's going to be two calls for projects here in the near future, one by NERC and one by INDOT. We will make every attempt to go after that, to leverage our money on that, so more to come on that. I put it in there assuming we were going to get it, because if we don't get it, we can't do it. So Next, go ahead.
Before you go, just, so can you just very specifically lay out what funding is going to be needed for this project in 2025?
Well, it's scheduled for letting in calendar year 2025, It'll probably either early spring or early summer of next year. So the way it works at MDOT, when you have the money, when the contract is let, they send us a bill for our share of the project. We have to pay that up front before they award the project. So you'll see a cost in there, $1.761, $520,000. That would be our portion that we would have to pay based on the estimates we've got today.
It's about, the due date about on that? You said that would be,
Let next year, it could be let as early as spring of next year, no later than midsummer of next year.
If there's a cost overrun, do we have to pay any balance on that, or is that,
Yes.
does the state, we would have to do that too?
Sometimes, depending where we get our money, but a lot of times, no. You dealt the money, and you gotta manage what you get from the federal level. So we try to do our best to maybe estimate high when we make our estimates. We gotta account for escalation and inflation. So, yeah, it's kind of a gamble, and sometimes near the end, when we find out, when we get better estimates from our designers, we may have to scale back and value engineer the project. So we try to work real hard to work within the budgets that were given to us by either MDOT or NERC. So yes, that one would let, and then it's probably gonna be a 2-season project, because there's just so much work that needs to be done. So that's why you see it bridging 25 and 26. The other project, I just moved it out. If you look at the bottom line numbers, that's probably why I did it, because you got the Willow Creek Road, there's one that's gonna hit, we'll talk about soon in 29. So that one would make sense to move it, not at the same time, but sometime right before that. So it gives us enough time to go out and look for more additional funding. Willow Creek Road is an entire package, and what you're seeing here is only a slice of the pie. A lot of you remember a lot of the press, as well as the presentations made to various county bodies. The Willow Creek Corridor is a corridor that extends from the south limits of Portage to County Road 700 North all the way down to US 30. We're nearing the end of our environmental evaluation stage. They had multiple routes they looked at. There is a preferred alternative. They did have a public information meeting. Rest assured to the public, there'll be another public hearing right before Thanksgiving, so the public gets to comment and review again. But based on the alignment that it seems to be the preferred alignment, we have phase 1 that goes from 700 north south down to 130 on the west side of Wheeler. It touches down. If you go to your map at the very last page, you can see that alignment. That one is in the hopper as far as funding and all. That one could be let in this calendar year 26, which would be state fiscal either 26 or 27. The state fiscal starts on May 1st. So there you would see a $1.5 million payment once the bids are made, and MDOT is identified low bidder. We pay our 20%, in this case 20% match share. They issue a notice to proceed. Then on the construction engineering, we pay the bills as they come in, we turn in claims each month, and we get 80 cents on the dollar back if there's enough money there. So,
How much did you say, 80 cents on the dollar?
80 cents on the dollar. Now, in the case,
Can you guys hear him? Can you be louder?
I could, yes.
Sorry.
Then there's phase 2, which picks up.
Can we just go back to phase 1 real quick?
Yes.
Just to make sure. In 2025, you do have some monies that we're going to need to budget for, and that's the right-of-way acquisition, correct?
And more preliminary engineering as we wrap up.
And that's on Willow Creek, correct?
Yes.
Phase 1.
Phase one.
Yeah.
So we're already talking 1.761 million for 2025 for the first
Yes.
project. And then what was the second?
In 2025, it's another 572,000.
So 2.2 million in 2025.
No, 2.566.
Was it-
Total at the bottom.
Oh, was it 2.566? Oh, yeah.
Because you're forgetting those little incidental.
That's all the projects. When you go to the bottom line, that's all the projects.
That's all the projects, but you're only saying for phase 1, we're only taking
And which year? Which year are you talking about?
2025.
2025,
Would be
total
five-
all projects is 2566, but for Willow Creek Phase 1, it's 572,000.
Right.
Phase 2 is the bridge over the railroad and State Road 130, similar, not similar to Sedley, but kind of the same premise. We don't want to be impeded by the railroad, so this would be a grade separation, and then the road would peter out to the south to the first logical termini, which I believe is County Road 600 West, or 650 West. That project has a total construction cost of 14 million. And we've accounted for inflation, because if you see that project's carried out to the year 2029. Funds in NERC are done in a 5-year plan, where 24 was the first year of their 5-year plan. It ends in 28. Either in 29 or 2030, we will get the money to do that project. So their tip for the schedule of program is already full up to 2028. Our Phase 1 is included in that. Our Phase 2 will be either 29 or 30. I chose to do the more conservative way for conversation's sake and put it in 29. We're going to save money. We should be prepared for that. So that, unfortunately, does not come at 80/20. At least the rules at NERC right now, the most you can get for construction is 10 million. So anything above the 20%, above the 10 million, we got to pay 100%. So that's why we got to pay 4 million of that instead of 20%. Then, of course,
But do we still have our 20%?
Then for the construction, because we exhausted the 10 million there, we got to pay the construction inspection, which is called construction engineering. We would pay that 100%. Now, the rules at NERC may change. That's 5 years from now. Again, I'm taking the most conservative approach when it comes to these rules.
So Mike, can I ask you, I know we have to pay the 4 million at 100%, but do we have to pay 20% of the 10 million?
No. The 10%, the 10 million is what we would get, which exceeds. Think of it this way. Normally, the feds would pay 80% of the cost. We're limited to 10 million or 80%, whichever comes first.
Oh, okay.
So looking from 2025 to 2030, we're going to need $2 million, it's going to be close to $2 million a year for the next 5 years for these two projects.
Yes.
12 million divided by 5, and then
Yes.
just a little over 2,
Kind of what it's looking like,
and it's kind of what it's looking like.
This finishes Willow Creek? These numbers,
No.
there's still more after this.
Then we got to go from 650 west all the way down to 130. I've got numbers for that. That's another presentation I'd be glad to make to each of you.
And the county's paying we're planning on paying $2 million a year to extend Willow Creek. That's our idea. And this is finalized? Is this 100%? I know it's been talked about, but...
This isn't final. There's probably another, depending on what the cash flow situation.
Yeah, because what if we can't come up with our $2 million? Is the state going to cover it?
No.
Nope.
Okay.
That's why I've been saying it. It just everything starts compounding with Lee's IT plan, which we need. I mean, we have speakers. I know this was a freak accident, but servers have to be upgraded. You know, a couple $100,000 a year for 5 years. There's $1 million. Here's $2 million. You know, and we're struggling right now to
Yeah, that's what I mean. We're struggling keeping up on our roads. And we're talking about building a massive road.
That's what I'm saying, we can't keep up on our road, we're struggling trying to find a match for our CCMG grant, which is $1.5 million. And then if we can throw some additional, it's always great to get more roads paved, but, you know.
But the thing too is, if we back out, we're on the hook for a whole lot of money too, since we're
Oh,
deep into this.
absolutely.
There will be.
So that's another thing we gotta consider.
We would have to reimburse,
We would have to reimburse some portions of it. And
Right.
I'm presenting this to you at the request of the Commissioner, and Jim and I have studied this as well as with our staff. You know, I'm telling you, if we want to stay with the commitment with Willow Creek Road, it's not the picture, because the picture goes beyond 2030.
2030.
I'm putting together a plan for that too, so you get a better appreciation of the bigger picture. But, you know, when we get done, we're going to talk about preservation next. Then we add them both up, which is in there too. That's the numbers we're talking.
What do you see roundabout after 2030 costs? Give or take, I mean, I'm not holding you to it. Just curious, how much more from 600 down to?
To get from 650 down to 30.
Yeah.
I'm just taking a wild guess. We're probably talking another 4 or 5 million.
Okay.
Our money.
Our money, right.
I think the state needs to chip in more.
Those are conversations you have. We have time to do that. I mean, it's all, my life has been putting these kind of projects together and looking at the big picture. And looking
I'm
at
glad
the
you're doing
long
this,
term.
because these are real numbers that we're gonna have to eventually budget for, and, you know, when we're looking for 4 or 5 million, I mean, my goal would, like, I'd like to see $6-7 million a year for roads for the next 5 years, but then now you cut in to this, now here we go again, we're at 6 million, now we're throwing 2 million to these projects, now we're back down to 4 million.
And the other thing too is, by doing Willow Creek extension now, when there's not a lot of density, residential density in there, it's a lot less expensive to do it now and acquire right of way and all that sort of thing. I mean, you look at St. John and Crown Point, they can't even do north-south roads anymore because there's too many houses in the way. It's just cost prohibitive at that point. So if we're ever going to do it, now is the best time to do it.
Well,
It's going to take a long time to do all 3 phases, but...
in addition to what she's saying, escalation will kill you the longer you kick the can down the road too. So we can run those numbers, we can find a solution if we all collectively want to find one. But the important thing is the county committed to doing Willow Creek Road down the curve. What time that takes, they didn't say. We got to weigh time versus escalation cost and what fund. If you don't have the funds, you don't have the funds.
Did the county council commit to that? Because since I've been on the council, I don't remember voting on that.
I think this started before this council, for sure.
Well, you said the county committed to it, so I just wanted to make sure. Did the county council,
I don't
did
know.
they commit?
I don't know.
I don't know either, I'm just asking, and I'm not getting frustrated.
Actually, Mike and I had this conversation, we were wondering if anybody on the current
I think
council...
Sylvia's the only one.
Yeah, me and Jeremy, and it was, when the grants were first issued, we agreed to this. Our arterial roads, our main roads in Porter County are being choked by cars and transportation. And if we don't do something pretty soon, and like Commissioner Regnan said, right now we have an advantage because the building, the longer we put this off, the more building is going to occur, subdivisions and so forth, and the county is going to be choked, and we're not going to be able to move our traffic. And in my opinion, safety is another factor that you have to think about to get around in the county. And it's almost like it's our infrastructure. It's our responsibility to look at this. It's something we can't stick our heads in the ground and hide from. It's something that we need to be talking about now.
Yep.
Even though it may be painful to some, and growth is always painful, but it's good. And I just feel as if that's our responsibility is to face this.
I agree, like I said, that's what was agreed to, and it's gonna cost us a bunch of money to get out of it, but I'm saying when you're already looking at trying to fund roads, and then now they're saying $2 million a year for the next 5 years, it's just a tough pill to swallow, that's all.
And I wasn't saying to get out of it, I'm just asking questions.
Oh, no, fair question. And again, this, as the commissioner said, this is a living, breathing document, with exchange, with, I'm not saying sign on the dotted line, give us this much in these years.
But these are estimates, these are gonna be...
These are estimates to prepare us so we can
know what's going on.
collectively figure out how to fund this.
We appreciate it. And the estimates, are they including inflation factors?
Yes and no, but a lot of them are. The ones out a few years, yes.
Question.
Yes, sir.
It goes to 2025 to 2030. Now, without hitting anybody that we got to pay for down the road, are we looking at 2050? Because let's face it, let's look further than what we have to 2030, because that's going to get us quicker than what we even know now. So let's come up with some type of plan without using some engineering firm. What we we here in the county, because we all know we're gonna grow, no matter what we wanna do, it's gonna happen. So what are we gonna do in the next 20 years after 2030? We don't have to have figures, but let's get some idea of which way we wanna go, what area we think we're gonna build up in, when we can only guesstimate, let's face it, and then have some type of projection in our minds, so that when we do approach somebody, we've got at least some idea of what we're looking at.
And part of that's done, the county has what's called a thoroughfare plan, that's companion with our comprehensive plan, both of which need an update. I talked to Bob Thompson a couple months ago about that. He always envisioned we would be updating those. And in the case of the thoroughfare plan, it kind of projects where a roadway network where pieces are missing or pieces need to be expanded or improved because we anticipate growth in these areas. That's where we get that information. It's somewhat crystal ballish, so to speak. It's not perfect, but it gives you an idea, so you always got an idea.
So you're watching the areas in the county that are growing and projecting this is where the growth is gonna continue.
Exactly.
Okay.
We're not there yet, but we're due for one.
Okay, good.
Good point. So, what we would intend to do is paint the entire picture for the Willow Creek Road extension, even beyond the years that we've got shown here. I think in fairness, you need to be seeing all that information as well, so we're in the midst of preparing all that too. We'll be glad to share that with you. The next page is something, with the exception of Councilman Sims, we met with each of you individually and kind of expressed our thoughts on that since we've met. Again, I want to go back to the theme of we got to think of our road preservation. This is just preservation. This is not just resurfacing. This is just not crack sealing or chip sealing. It's everything, including culvert replacement and ditch maintenance. Water is the #1 killer of our roads. And if we keep the water away from the roads, we can get longer life out of it. So we've got to include things like that. Jim has estimated that his LRS MDH, as you can see in the historical comparison budget up top, that kind of fluctuated all over. I'll let Jim explain how that happens.
Yeah, we took a hit during COVID, obviously, so our MBH and LRS fell off, which is why you would see that low number in 21. And then we just, every spring we come in, or late winter, we look at our cash balance, get an additional from you, and we do as much chip sealing and things as we can. And then back this late winter of this year, we ended up with an extra cash. There was more cash in there than normal. So that's why we budgeted a higher amount for chip seal, crack seal, micro surfacing, and those kind of things. So as Mike said, if you spread it out or average it out, it looks like we should be able to cover about $1.8 million a year at the current funding level from the state to take care of, like I said, chip seal, crack seal, some micro surfacing.
And CCMG, it's been $1 million until this year. Now the state raised it 1.5 because we're a county of a certain population. We have to match it dollar for dollar. So at a minimum, we got to match 1.5 million if we go after that money.
And that's new roads, Mike?
I'm sorry?
Is that new paving? Or
we can use it in this entire program, however we want to. Yes.
Okay.
We want to put it toward what we call preservation, which is the chip seal, the thin resurface, the structural resurface, the ditch work, the culverts. We're treating this, let's pool all our money and see what we can do with this money to bring the greatest good to our roads and make them last longer. And it's actually, some of these low-cost alternatives, like crack sealing on that, you can cover more roads with crack sealing per dollar and make that road last longer, which is something back in the day they didn't do. Jim's done a really good job of trying to catch up on that. So he's staying, the road's getting degraded even further, at least at Lanigan. Road's got a life cycle, and during the life cycle, you do certain maintenance things until it gets to the point, then you jump to the next highest one. And what you want to do is you want to stretch that life expectancy of that road. If you do nothing, the life expectancy is this. Now you're paying to replace the entire road. We want to forestall that and get the most life that we can on the road. That's why these preservation techniques are so important.
Mr. Fuller, do you have the machine you were talking about earlier in the year where...
The total patcher?
Yeah. Have you got it already?
Yep.
So that's going to be saving us money there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we've already used it on some of our chip seal roads that we were redoing. In the past, we would have to go through and grind the whole road, we can send that out. And then they spend a day on it with a crew of 4 guys or gals, fix the bad spots, and then we can just single seal over instead of having to rip.
And how much
the
did you
road.
say it was gonna save per mile, roughly?
It saves about 20,000 miles, cost between, the price difference between a single seal and a ground double is about 20,000 miles.
At 811 miles, that would be some money.
So our program, we said, what if after 24, we were to get $6 million of appropriated cash? 1.5 of that would match the CCMG grant, obviously, and the balance would be used on the rest of the road. Staff has made presentation, I think, to this body as well as to the commissioners, showing that a certain amount of maintenance preservation must be done. We are in a downhill slide with our investment. We're not gaining ground on the overall condition of the road. We feel that if we got $6 million infused every year of additional new money, our trend will start to go up, which means over the long term, we will be, believe it or not, we'll be spending less money over the long term. Short term, it sounds like it's a lot, but we've got over 850 miles of road that grows every year with these subdivisions. It's a lot of roads to take care of. Now, we also, to some of you talked, we said, when they took the bridge crew out of highway and put it in our department, now the bridge crew is focused totally on bridges. Very expensive proposition. It's already paying dividends by us doing maintenance on our bridges. I do not want us to do that. However, it left Jim in the lurch because he's got less people to do the work. What we propose to do with the $6 million is hire a crew of 5, including their vehicles, that we can self-perform a lot of this maintenance work ourselves and cover more ground as opposed to going out to contract. Now, we're only going to do what's in our wheelhouse: full depth patch, crack seal, not crack seal, chip seal, and the like. We can do more of that, which is less expensive than resurfacing, which will get lasting life out of our roads, or more life out of our roads. So that's kind of in the mix too, that we're trying to maximize every dollar we get by using our own crews to do the work.
I think the key takeaway right now is that the spending rate that we have is the condition of our roads are not staying the same. They're actually deteriorating over time because we aren't putting enough money into it to just, and all we're trying to do is to keep them here, just to keep them repaired and what do you call it, preserved, just to keep them preserved. We're not trying to make them better or anything like that. All we're trying to do is to preserve them.
So, how many people are in a road crew?
Well, it all depends, there's different sizes, you know, like our Valpo shop, Valpo garage has the most people, but then Chesterton has, I believe, 9. And
You're talking about getting a new road crew, right?
well, it wouldn't be a whole, those people would be divided up into Chesterton, Valpo, and Heber. But then,
I can remember when you moved the road crew up to where they're at now.
Bridge department?
Yeah, you probably do too, Ed. That we were told that mainly it was because there was limited room, if I recall, right?
And the highway department didn't need them, they would do more work to the bridge.
That's exactly right.
They didn't need them, so they were full.
And,
Not you, you didn't cross that, Jim.
but yeah, that you weren't there. But, I can appreciate what you're wanting to do now, but I can recall the reason as to why they were moved to begin with.
I think at the time, just as an outsider looking in at the time, Jim, maybe you can add to it. I think we've matured and we've become more, not sophisticated, but we've become more savvy on how we do our roads too. I think in that time, it was something new. It was a learning process by everybody. Certain talent got brought on staff, especially in the engineering department. We started taking a look at these roads and quantify and finding what is it going to take to at least keep our head above water. I think at that time, we didn't have an idea of how we did this. So, to wrap this up, we go to the next page after that one. So we gave you capital, and and then we give you our plan for preservation, you had all those numbers up. And I know it's a big number, and it's gonna smack us all right between the eyes, as an expression. But in the discussion tonight, what we're starting with is, this is what we would need to see to our capital and our preservation the way we see it today. So, it's a big number. I'm sorry?
I'm not smiling at that. I smile all the time, not that.
I think it was purposely we put the two together, because there is capital, and that gets talked about over here, and there's preservation, we talked there. Jim and I and some of the staff said, let's put it all together so we see the big picture and we can respond to that.
Well, and like Mike had mentioned, preservation's everything. It's not just crack sealing, it's also new asphalt, or it's also cement stabilization or calcium stabilization on soils beneath the road, you know, so it's, preservation is all one big picture. It needs to be looked at in one big picture.
Are there any more grants or anything that we can go for downstate to help out with this stuff?
Downstate?
State grants, federal grants, any kind of grants? I mean, I don't know. Do we ever look at that kind of stuff?
Always on the lookout for that. Community crossings is something fairly new. Matter of fact, they've been talking to larger communities. I think like Indianapolis have complained that the formula to distributing that is not fair to a community of that size. I don't know if the legislators are having study sessions or having discussions to change the formula on that. Community crossings was really a blessing to everybody when it first came out. The state, you know, through the highway user taxes, the taxes we pay on gasoline, they made that money available to all the communities throughout Indiana, counties included. So I think that's been a blessing. Is that going to morph over the next 7 years? Probably.
But I was asking for new grants, not the ones we already get.
Understood. And NERC, they're booked for 5 years, so you never know. There's always a hue and cry, we need more money for roads. We're dependent on the state sometimes to come across with that.
Thank you for the presentation, the information.
You're welcome.
Very
Any
good.
questions?
Anybody have any, council questions for Mike?
No, it just looks like it's about 3.4 million of new money starting in 2025 for Willow Creek and the plan that you want to do approximately. I'm just saying 2 million for Willow Creek and $1 million for, or Willow Creek 100, you know, all that money we need for next year.
In 2025?
Yeah.
Well, the bottom line we need just for the capital projects is just need 2.6 total down at the bottom.
I'm just saying what we spent in 2020, what we budgeted in 2024.
Oh.
7.75, and we're looking at 8.5, and add that on.
Oh, you're mixing.
Willow, yeah.
Yeah, that's preservation.
Excuse me, but Barb, didn't Willow Creek get moved back to 2026?
Not phase one.
Fiscal 26, which starts June 1st of 2025. Sometimes you gotta talk the state calendar, which is different than our calendar.
Yeah,
Federal.
phase one was not affected by the changes at nursery. So but phase two was pushed out, and we don't know into what year yet.
And
Phase three now, they haven't even started talking about phase two. We have no idea about
Well,
phase
they
two.
canceled the transportation meeting yesterday, so.
Does Portage throw in for this too? I'm not asking for them to, but are they part of the equation as well? Do they put some money in for
No.
this? The city of Portage?
Oh.
I don't think we can.
Not in
This is all outside city limits.
Oh, it's all outside.
Yeah.
And someone brought up safety. There are grant opportunities, we are going after grant opportunities to do a safety plan, which will give us direction on how to do future safety projects.
Thank you.
The Safe Indiana, the Barb, is on the top of your head, Safe Indiana, have grants from NERC.
There's going to be 2 calls for projects. One federal, U.S. Department of Transportation is coming out with one. That's what we're going after. We're going to team with LaPorte County and Lake County, get power and us all together, just in the unincorporated. That will do a safety plan. Then NERC is going to come out with a notice of funding availability for what's called HSIP. That'll be local in the urban area, so we will be submitting for safety projects there. And And in this fall, it's also going to come out. The non-urban areas are south parts of our county. They're also coming out with the state home good. So we'll submit for all three.
Might as well.
Yes. Of course, that means more match, but safety money comes at a different match. Sometimes that's 9 to 10, sometimes it's 100%.
Oh, we like that.
Well, it'd be nice to see South County get a little down here and there.
Certainly. Sorry to take so much time, but this is all overdue.
Very good information. Any other questions from the council? No?
Not at this time.
Not at this time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Do you mind if I just sit here while Barbara's here so I don't have to walk back in?
Fine.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Okay, let's continue on. We have a commissioner's presentation, transfer $4,000 from hourly to overtime.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Welcome back, Officer Jim.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
By the way, just one more thing before I depart. We're going to start to be buttoning up the Memorial Opera House soon. And if any of you would like to come over there while it's under construction and just see the before, and then come and you'll be able to really appreciate the after. But just let me know or let Joe know, and we'll make sure that we give you a little tour of what's going on over there. What?
And if it's the day you want us to say.
No, just reach out to me and we'll figure out.
Hey, Barbara, I'd like to go see it.
Good. That's a public favor.
And
He's cool.
you have your director back at the back of the room.
No, he
Oh, he left?
yeah,
Yeah.
got it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Hi, Jim.
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
You do look like you're, I was like,
We've got, let me see, Highway Foundation Holding, we have additional.
Do we have to do these separately?
I think we do because
additional separately, yes.
Motion to approve.
Second. So a motion to approve the additional for the first of $1,500,000. We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Brett Stone.
Yes.
Sylvia Grant.
Yes.
Greg Sims.
Yes.
Andy Bozak.
Yes.
Andy Vasquez.
Yes.
Jeremy Rivas. Mike Brickner.
Yes.
6-0.
Motion to approve the $30,000 for the second this year grant match.
Second.
Okay.
We have a first and a second.
Okay.
Both Andys.
What did I miss?
I made a motion on the $30,000 interfund transfer.
Okay,
Andy
yes, we have a
Vasquez.
first and a second, any discussion on that additional? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Sylvia Grant.
Yes.
Greg Sims.
Yes.
Andy Bozak.
Yes.
Andy Vasquez.
Yes.
Jeremy Rivas. Mike Brickner.
Yes.
Brett Stone.
Yes.
6-0.
Okay, and now we have the,
I'll make a motion if you'd like to approve the LRB matching grant fund.
okay, we have a motion.
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion on this, additional? Seeing none, roll call, please.
Stone.
Yes.
Grant.
Yes.
Sims.
Yes.
Bozak.
Yes.
Vasquez.
Yes.
Brickner.
Yes.
6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Yep.
Have a good day.
If it's okay, you know what,
That's my favorite
sorry,
part of
Oh,
time.
man.
Gary, you want, I know that I was just advised you have another appointment to move you up.
Oh, thank you.
Is that okay?
All right.
Thanks, Allison. Okay.
Well, tonight.
We have, here we have an additional $6,000 to maintenance agreements appropriation needed to meet contract requirements.
Motion to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second, any discussion?
Well, let's see, we're in July, and, your fund that you were taking us out of, it just ran out of money?
It's the copier problem that we
Oh,
had, that we
okay.
started to talk about it.
Your what? I'm sorry?
The copier,
Okay.
maintenance contract.
Are you replacing or repairing?
I think IT and the commissioners are working on that. We've met with the copier representatives. It's all about the color copies. And
Okay.
so we've done our best to take some of that to Staples and pay for those out of our own money.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, we have a motion and a second, roll call, please.
Sims.
Yes.
Bozak. Vasquez.
Yes.
Richter.
Yes.
Stone.
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
6-0.
Okay. We have another additional of $15,211 to FICA, $24,231 to PERF, appropriation needed, not enough money in FICA and PERF.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second, any discussion?
Okay, I have a question, it's probably easily answered, but you need this halfway through, was it not budgeted, or? We're moving money into a line item. Okay. And so what happened was, when the salaries increased, we didn't account for that, so now we are. Okay. And this will be. That's for 2503 as well. Okay.
Thank you for both in this budget.
Any other questions? Roll call, please.
Sims.
Yes.
Bozak. Graham.
Yes.
Vasquez.
Yes.
Richter.
Yes.
Stone.
Yes.
6-0.
Okay, motion carries, and here we have one other additional.
Move to approve.
Second. We have a motion and a second, for this additional appropriation needed, okay, FICA and PERF. Any questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Vasquez.
Yes.
Stone.
Yes.
Richter.
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
Sims.
Yes.
Bozak.
Yes.
6-0.
Good.
Great, perfect, thank you very much.
Hey, Gary.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Juvenile detention, Allison, thank you. Juvenile detention.
Are we doing service?
Yeah.
The same.
Oh, did I skip?
I think they're the same thing.
Oh, yeah, I did, certainly, of course,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm doing another
okay, do that. We have an additional $5,000 to legal services appropriation to pay for specialized mediators.
I make a motion to approve, Mike.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions?
Just a real quick thing, is this that new program you had started and told us about at the budget last year?
No, we have 5 staff mediators that is paid for. We have a local ADR plan that's approved by the state. It's been in effect for, oh my gosh, probably 20 years now. So we have 5 staff. So we have 5 mediators on staff, but we found that there is just some mediations in paternity and divorce cases, because we provide that service for free to low-income families. But we do find that there are some types of mediations that really do need an attorney involved, instead of me. So I'm one of the mediators. We just really need those funds to be able to contract with an attorney in order to provide those services for those.
If you don't use all those funds throughout the year, we get back.
It's a reverting fund,
Okay.
so it's based upon $20 fees for every paternity and divorce filing. It goes into the ADR plan in order to pay for these services for families.
Any other questions on this additional? We have motion and a second, right? Okay. We have motion and a second, roll call, please.
Stone.
Yes.
Richter.
Yes.
Vasquez.
Yes.
Bozak. Sims.
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
6-0.
Okay. All right, moving down to juvenile detention, general fund, additional $40,000 hourly appropriation to cover part-time employees for the remainder of 2022.
Well, first of all, I would like to introduce Danielle Bennett. She is my new assistant director. So I wanted her to come tonight and for you all to meet her.
Welcome.
Thank you. Nice to meet you guys. So I did want to start with just thanking you for just considering this request tonight.
I know that there's some hard times right now, I get that, but know that if I didn't feel this was imperative, I would not be here tonight. I think that you all, several of you have known me for a very long time, and I think that I've had a really strong history of making sure that I do transfers as much as I can in order to offset the hourly. I've done that for many, many years. I have not had an increase in my hourly general fund line item since 2018. Again, I asked for an additional in 2020. I was denied. And I was asked to use my code fee instead. I did that. But I also stated that I knew that that wasn't going to sustain that for very long. Obviously, a lot has happened since 2020. COVID really hit us hard in our detention center. We lost a lot of staff. We lost a lot of part-timers. So we've been working really hard over the past year to get part-time staff in order to offset, to help our full-time staff. Our full-time staff is exhausted. And they haven't been able to take as much time off. Their PTO is through the roof. They're accumulating comp time that we can't burn because we didn't have part-timers. So what also happens is that every single staff member, full and part-time, has to have 80 mandatory training hours before they can even go on the floor. So when you get part-timers coming in and it's like a rotating door, it's a revolving door. We trained somebody and we weren't able to pay them enough, so they left. And then we trained somebody else and then we invested all that time and then they would leave. So it's been really hard for us in order to maintain staff. Thank God you guys did the wage study, because that helped immensely, because we were able to get more staff. Our full-timers were finally fully staffed with our full-timers. We finally have a really good set of part-time staff, but we also had to increase, their hourly rates to coincide with the salaries that were increased. We have a lot of part-timers who have been here because some of them just stick with us, and we've had some with us for over 10 years. But we also have to compensate them for their time with us as well. So based upon all of that, being understaffed, we need our full-timers. A lot of things happened. And in that full time, my hourly rate in general fund has not gone up. So that's why I'm asking for this. I hate to do it, but that's what I'm asking for. And what I've been trying to do as well, and again, talking about transfers, again, if you see in my request tonight, I did that. I'm going through every single line item that I can definitely spare. We will tighten our belts in those line items in order to focus on our hourly. So I was able to figure out $10,000 at least to help out with it being, a $40,000 request instead of a $50,000 request.
Do you think you're going to need this going forward for?
I will be asking for an increase during budget season for next year.
Besides the 40,000.
I'll be asking for additional, I can't remember, I think I asked for $75,000 in hourly for next year's budget.
Any questions for Allison?
Well, I know when we talked, you said that, we discussed, you said your staff, they've been there so many years that, you couldn't just give them time off, for the hours they work because they were building up too much comp time, which we all said we don't want to have.
No.
And,
they're exhausted for 24/7 facility.
and quite truthfully, I think this is going to be something that we're going to be approached with many of the departments, is needing more part-time money this year for a lot of those reasons.
And I don't want to ask for full-time staff, obviously, because that's even bigger hit to you guys. At least this way, I have part-timers who are not having to ask for all of the benefits package.
Well, with that being said, I will make a motion to pass it.
I'll second.
We have a motion and seconds. Any other questions, discussion?
You guys are doing good work over the tiny budget we get.
Thank you. We have a really, really great staff.
As someone who is there,
We see you all the time here.
I can attest to that, truly.
Are you on part-time then?
What's that?
Public defender.
I know, but I'm in the
My
detention center.
I thought I saw one.
You're gonna be that lawyer that drives in?
He's on with the garden.
They do, they're the best.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Sims.
Yes.
Bozak.
Yes.
Vasquez.
Yes.
Brickner.
Yes.
Stone.
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
6-0.
So Allison, this next section, your transfers are kind of related, you're transferring money for this is part of the additional.
Yeah,
program.
I would like,
It's all
yeah.
connected? Yeah.
Motion to approve the transfers, all of them.
I second it.
A motion and second on the transfers. Any discussion? All those in favor, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Thank you all very much, I really
Thank you.
appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Okay, extension services, Anetta?
I don't see her. I saw her in the hallway earlier.
Here?
She was here.
Going once?
You wanna go to the
Well,
next
they're
one,
all
see if she comes
transferred.
back?
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, we could put it in the end.
let's move the,
Maybe
how about
some of the rest
EMA?
of them.
Lance, you ready? EMA General Fund, transfer of $2,000, from equipment to siren and maintenance repair, transfer needed for siren maintenance and
Make
repair.
a motion, Mr. President.
Second.
So a motion and second. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. And we have transfer, second transfer. Transfer needed due to increased costs is your telephone internet service.
Make a motion, Mr. President.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Motion and a second on the next transfer.
This is your office, right, not the cell phones? 'Cause I know you've been in,
Well, it's cell phones and internet.
because you've been in front of us the last, before for this, for more money. What's happening with that building?
It's gone up, recently also, but we never had enough in it, and so we would transfer from one fund to the other, just trying to be able to pay it, yeah.
Just wanted to take it.
How many phones does that cover?
We have, well, it's cell phones, hotspots for the squads, then internet for the Emergency Operations Center, and we have to have redundancy, so we have 2 different kinds of internet in case one fails. So it'll pick up, it includes that. And then Comcast, which we run in the Emergency Operations Center, so we have news on weather, things like that.
I could have stopped you at Comcast,
Yeah.
because everybody knows they're crazy.
Yeah.
So,
I have Comcast.
I
The
can't.
bill is high.
They're crazy, aren't they?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
My
high.
mom used to call them every month. It goes up,
$2,000
goes
is
down.
very high too.
Yeah.
Other questions for Lance? Okay, I think we have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thanks, Lance. You gotta come back in, please.
Enjoy the fair.
You want me to go on stage? There she is.
No, that's Michelle.
It's Michelle Benson, Soil and Water.
Michelle.
I brought homework for everybody and an invitation. We have a field day on September the 4th up at Ruby's Farm. We hope you'll stop by, at least for lunch.
Free hot dogs?
lunch.
Free hot dogs?
Oh, no, we go all out. We'll probably have chicken and roast beef, so.
I vote yes.
All I'm asking for tonight is your permission to transfer money from our soil and water account to the account held by Porter County Local Fund 4931, so that a board stipend can be paid and an employee stipend can be paid. We do this once a year, just because it makes it a little easier on payroll. We could say, okay, add $50 a week to the payroll, but if we pay it once a year, that kind of just makes it easier.
And this is for two,
Employees and board members, yes.
Nance, for a quick question, does it make it easy for you guys when she does that? Which is, then why don't all the departments do that, so your guys?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
It depends, being that this is only two.
Okay, we have a motion and a second, for the additional, wrong thing there, I'm sorry, additional, appropriation needed for the stipends. Any discussion, any questions for Michelle? Okay, with the additional, roll call, please.
Brickner.
Yes?
Stone.
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
Sims.
Yes.
Bozak.
Yes.
Vasquez.
Yes.
6-0.
Thank you, and I hope you'll enjoy our education guide. I'll be starting back in the schools again around August the 20th, and last year was able to visit over 9,000 kids, and the majority of them doing Linden Portage School System.
We got one more thing to vote on.
You have another
Okay.
one here?
Well, you know, I just like the form.
I saw you standing up, don't mean it.
Hey, I don't know, there's probably a TV program on or something.
You have another additional on here, a Form 144, $35 per meeting for board members.
$35, yes.
Okay, so we're looking to increase it to 35 for...
That's what it's always been.
It's always been that?
Yes, the state doesn't allow more than $35 per
Okay.
meeting.
And that's coming from the conservation fund?
Correct. Yes. We're not asking for any additional from you again.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on Form 144. Any discussion?
I don't know what we're voting on, I guess.
Form
Form
144.
No, I get that, but that's still $35, that's what we voted on in the budget season last year, so what are we changing?
It wasn't enough. You folks approved $2,100. We had more meetings that board members attended, so we're making up the difference out of our own money.
But a 144 only shows what the pay is, correct? This is a 144.
We're actually taking the fight.
But there's no change on here, but I'm saying, this is the pay that we paid them, $35. That's already approved. So we're not changing anything there, there's nothing to,
Well,
Well, you got two new employees.
so what are we voting on? That's what I'm...
$160 FICA that's not
But
covered
it's
by
not a
the
144
$2,100.
change, because the 144 is still the same.
I'm
I'm not trying, I'm just saying, I don't know if we need to vote on it.
Okay, yeah, I
Or
don't
we're
know. They
voting on
tell
the
me to
wrong
fill out
thing.
the forms, that's all I can tell
The
you.
auditor department, what do we say?
Just vote on it?
I just fill out
A lot
the
of
forms.
removes, make it look better.
No change, we're voting on no change.
Yeah, Form 144s are separate than those, so might as well, I mean,
Yeah.
despite the confusion, I would.
It's not gonna hurt anything, yeah, okay.
I just want to make sure I knew what I was voting on.
That works.
But
You're voting on
you're
the-
not crazy, you're thinking correct.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second for this next item on the agenda. Roll call, please.
Graham.
Yes.
Stone.
Yes.
Brickner.
Yes.
Vasquez.
Yes.
Bozak.
Yes.
Sims.
Yes.
6-0.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you. You guys budget time.
Thank you.
Well, no, we might see you at a luncheon.
Well, I hope so, September the 4th.
Sheriff Ballin?
That's what I need to know, guys. It just gives me time. Because, no, yeah, done at budget time, you're right, we're not doing this.
We have transfer request, 20,000 from salary to overtime. 25,000 from clerk maintenance agreement to overtime. Reason appropriation to cover the cost of overtime while also finishing training. Any questions to the sheriff?
I don't have any questions, I make motion.
I'll second the motion for discussion.
I think so,
Right.
adequate. Okay.
how many officers are in training right now?
We have 5 in total, plus 2 on light duty.
And these are jail for jail? or-
No, the ones I'm talking about are the road officers.
Oh, that's great.
Okay, but then we have jail officers that are currently in training as well. So, we've had some leave for other employment. Fortunately, some got hired by police agencies, which is what we want. And then we have to hire people to replace them. So. And then there's one section here where we have a full-time employee that went to part-time because of family medical issues. And instead of losing that employee as a full-time and they just leave us, they were willing to stay on part-time. So I wanted to make that adjustment as well.
Thank you.
Any other questions? We have a motion and a second. Any other questions? Okay, on the transfers, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So we have a jail general fund, a transfer of $17,000 from salaries to hourly, $10,000 from salaries to overtime, and $15,000 training and ed to overtime. Appropriation to cover the cost of overtime.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on these transfers. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Inmate procession fund, this is an additional $15,000 to training and ed. Appropriation needed to cover costs of training and ed for jail officers.
Motion to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second on this additional.
How many officers are we talking, sir?
Well, so this one, with this transfer is to put back into the general fund to reimburse the fund that
Oh,
was
it's put back?
transferred 15 out.
Okay.
Wait, what? Put it back.
From the inmate processing, is that what that's for?
No,
It's going back in there.
it's going to a non-reverting fund.
Right.
Put it in our general.
That was for reimbursement, yes. But back to your question.
How many officers?
Well, this one is for the training, like additional training, we're sending 5 officers to the National Jail Institute,
Okay.
which is for like liability, how to reduce complaints in the jail, how to, just, so that one is for the training costs, not necessarily like training brand new.
Okay.
Additional training.
Additional training, okay, thank you.
Is that a trainer, do they come back?
Yeah, they'll come back, yep. It's a good investment, reduces liability.
Any other questions for the sheriff? We have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Vasquez.
Yes.
Bozak.
Yes.
Sims.
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
Richter.
Yes.
Stone.
Yes.
6-0.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Enjoy the family.
Tourism. We have a transfer request. We have a transfer request of $10,140 from gift shop supplies to unemployment. Appropriation needed for unemployment claims.
Is that unemployment claim for multiple people or?
One.
One.
Make a motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions?
Are you aware of this, being on the board?
Yeah, it was kind of complicated when it was explained to me, but it's something that unfortunately has to be done. Somebody files, you get paid.
What's this paying for a full year, like a year, or is this?
Up to 26.
So there will not be any more after that?
Well,
I mean,
somebody else quit.
a different employee.
A different employee.
Well, if you quit, you're not getting unemployment.
No, well, no. I'll give 10% to Rick.
What?
All right, we have a motion and a second on this transfer. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you.
Hey, the gift shop is doing excellent. I really,
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
Yeah, you
Out there the other day, there was tons of
Oh, yeah.
people, and they're buying everything under the sun.
I mean,
Yeah, they don't care.
Yeah, it was good.
during the meeting I was there, you couldn't find parking. People were just like, I got money, let me buy something in here.
Yeah,
Seriously, that's what it was like.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
it was really good. Keep it up.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Did we go back to, is Annetta here?
I didn't see her.
We don't, she was
She's in the building, I saw her earlier.
These are transfers, do we need her here, or do we want to look at them without her, or do we want her to come back?
You don't actually need her in here.
Because I think we can,
You want to do them.
they're not large
She does not
transfers,
need-
and
If
What?
you
It's
choose,
your-
she does not need to be here if you choose to.
Well, one is for a color copier.
Oh, the color copier, I talked with her on that, okay, I think, the color copy, you're so old, I think it's got a hand crank on it.
Oh.
But it's something that they've had quite some time, okay?
That's a ditto machine.
yeah, that
No,
lady's
this-
hand flew. I remember that.
No, but they've had it a long time, and it's just, yeah, I saw it, and will print something out for me, it's not doing the job.
Want to just take care of these? Can we do all these at once? Okay.
I'd make a motion to approve them all.
Okay.
Second.
We have a motion and second to approve all three of the, all these transfers. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Okay, good. And that brings us to the conclusion, I believe, of the departments. Now we are at, ready for the second reading?
The following additionals have been approved tonight. General fund hourly, 40,000, maintenance agreement, 6,000, MVH restricted, transfer, 30,000, ADR fund, legal services, 5,000, prosecutor's referral fund, FICA, 15,211, PERF, 24,231, prosecutor pretrial fund, FICA, 4,142, PERF, 6,475, inmate processing, training and education, 15,000, foundation holding, transfer, 1,500,000, soil and water conservation fund, salaries, $10,620.40, FICA, $973.10, PERF, $1,189.48, LR&B match grant, 30,000.
Second reading.
Okay, thank you for that.
I'll make a motion, Mr. President.
We have a motion
Second.
and a second to accept the second reading. Roll call, please.
Sims.
Yes.
Graham.
Yes.
Stone.
Yes.
Rickner.
Yes.
Vasquez.
Yes.
Bozak.
Aye.
6-0.
Okay. Any other matters for the council members, have anything to
Yes.
share?
Sam Burgett, come on up.
Hi, everybody.
The lady of many hats. Yes.
Many hats, and I wanted to say, well, first I have this for everybody. There's that, and then there's a color copy. I'm not here in the police social work capacity that I'm usually here for. I'm here to speak about a new project being spearheaded by my nonprofit, the Community Change Center. Since back in 2017, I've been doing reentry work in juvenile and the adult prison system and jail. And one of the so at this point, the nonprofit, we do transitional living, we partner with NEO and Portage to host adult education, we do mentoring and case management in the community, and we run a Unity Cafe out of Living Hope in Valparaiso over on Calumet. We serve about 80 people every Friday. Many are struggling with substance use and/or mental health and/or homelessness, but we also get a lot of different professionals in there, so we're really trying to kind of bridge these gaps in the community. So one of the things that we often see our clients struggling with, those who are coming out of incarceration, is employment. It's really hard for them, especially with higher level charges, to find gainful employment. So we model a lot of our programming based off of Homeboy Industries in LA. They're the largest rehab reentry program in the world, and we have nothing like that model in Northwest Indiana. Hero Center is probably the closest thing in the general area, but there's a lot of components. We're lacking a place for those who are coming out of the system to plug in, to know where they can go and get wraparound services. If you don't have money, it's really hard to go to 20 different agencies, right, and get connected with everything that you need. So our latest initiative is our Fresh Starts food truck. So we are seeking to generate supportive employment for our clients, so they're less likely to recidivate and, go back to incarceration because they're having trouble finding a job. The other struggle that we see is that a lot of times our clients come out of incarceration and we lose them because they're struggling to survive. They don't have employment, they might not have a place to live, therefore all of the therapeutic services and the case management we can offer them is so much less effective because they're just trying to, feed themselves, survive, take care of their families. So through this initiative, what we have designed is a food truck that's diner style. The goal is to serve at, for example, the jail near the courthouse, not within the jail, I will say that, to serve to those of us working in the system, so that those of us in the system, have the chance to support. I mean, as a social worker, there's nothing more pleasing to me than to get to show my clients or my former clients, we support you, right, even though you're on the outside. And for them, it's really important that they see that too, so they keep reaching out to us, whether they're struggling or whether they're doing well. So I know that there's been, I don't know what all, behind the scenes conversations have happened, but I do appreciate you all letting me speak tonight. I think that I've heard that there was, is not maybe yet a process in place for the opioid settlement money, but I think the urgency with this situation is that we've partnered with IHCDA. They're giving us a matching fund, so all money that we bring in for this initiative by August 6th, they're matching. So we set a goal of 30,000 by August 6th, then we would have 60, so that we have sufficient funding to purchase that truck to get it wrapped, and then to start hiring our clients. So as of today, we raised $12,747. We have an in-person fundraiser at Cook-Off this Saturday, so some of you, hope to see you there. So that will be our last big money maker before the campaign ends on the 6th. I have been through this initiative and kind of thinking about opioid settlement money and what the connection might be. I've gotten asked a few times, are you seeking to serve just the general ranging population? What is the connection? So the printout that I gave you explains the National Institute of Health says that 85% of those who are incarcerated within the prison system struggling with substance use, like active addiction, and or incarcerated for substance use related crimes. So that's really the connection here. I did just want to share too, we're relatively, having been officially founded, we've had programming going since 2017. We officially became a nonprofit in 2019, so it seems relatively new. But again, it's really covering this gap that is just so blatant to me within this field in the community, and it's working. So I did not bring any clients with me tonight because it can be intimidating to sit here in these meetings. But I wanted to share this story. About 2.5 years ago now, I had 2 clients, horrible active addiction. One was living under a tarp, one was living in a tent. Both really, really struggling with substances. Now, for the past few months, every single Friday they have been at the community cafe on Calumet serving meals to those that now are also trying to seek recovery, so they get to help mentor them as well. And they will be there on Saturday cooking for the cook-off as well. And one of them is a very, very well-known chef in the recovery community, so this initiative, they have had a hard time, both of them, getting that employment. One, when he was in active addiction, really struggling with, more violent charges, right, because he was high. So he is having a horrible time getting hired. My other client, of the 2 I'm talking about, is now having a bunch of operations to, in the physical healing from his addiction. And both are really excited to be part of this initiative, but for the concept of having employment, but also just the hope that it brings, and knowing I have a place where I'm able to come and get plugged in with services and support every Friday, and also a place where they can get back to others. So.
Is this to actually buy the food?
Actually
buy
yes.
the food, right?
Was 60, and I'm just curious, is 60,000 enough to outfit, get the truck? I know you said a wrap, hiring people, so that's more than enough, right?
Yes, that would be sufficient.
And are you going to generate revenue with this truck?
Yeah, so it is a nonprofit, so our goal has always been to create for-profit initiatives under the nonprofit so we can hire our clientele and be supporting that, making the nonprofit more self-sufficient. We're not, as a nonprofit, we're not making that, I don't pull a salary from it. We're not, the revenue goes back into continuing.
Right, you're not making the money, or,
right.
For an example, Greg's not getting 10%.
No, exactly, and I will say, our goal and the Homeboy Industries model is you start small, right, and then you get another truck, and keep building it. And so the other thing that I really anticipate will happen, that truthfully I've already seen happening, is that other employers will see this happening and say, you guys have really excellent people working for you, and I might have been hesitant to hire them, but this is awesome. And so we've already seen stigma reduction since we rolled out this campaign. I've had food truck owners, all these different professionals I never would have met otherwise, coming and saying, how can we support this?
And this is a 501, right?
It is.
Okay, so you're not going to be making money for your own pocket.
No.
I got several questions.
Absolutely.
Well, okay, so what we're looking at from the opioid committee is kind of in a weird flux, and we kind of know that. But, we're asking for 15,000, and then that will get matched. So, if we approve an initiative, so basically what it would be is, since we couldn't get it on within 10 days, we're just giving our approval of a 15,000, then on the commissioner's side, they will take our initiative, they will support it, and then we will come back in September and vote to allocate up to 15,000, whatever we do. So this is we're just giving the rubber stamp to the commissioners that we support this, and then we will, upon their supporting it, then see it again in September.
I have a couple of questions. I mean, it's a great idea. I
Yeah.
love it. I mean, you know, second chances. I'm all about second chances. I've had some second chances in my life, so I understand that one. Number one, do you have someone with restaurant experience that can handle this, like food costs and what waste control and things of this nature would be?
Yeah, so actually the client that I was talking about has a lot of that experience. We've also been talking with the health department already to make sure that we, cross our I's out.
Okay, that was my next
Yeah.
question, would be food handler permits, insurance that you'll have to carry. The other question would be, with this truck, it's purchasing a truck, and it's coming fully equipped, I would imagine. Is it equipped for a particular type of food that you're looking to handle, number one? Number two, what about the inventory?
Yeah, so we are doing, so it's a diner style menu, so that is the type of truck that we're, purchase a truck that can handle that. To your insurance question, we do have insurance to cover the nonprofit as a whole, and they're aware and, are walking us through what is actually needed to add on for that truck. And that funding is there in our budget. And then as far as inventory goes, we have been learning a lot from the health department as to what we need to do, and talking with a couple other agencies that would be willing to host us to feed that commissary kitchen to make sure we comply with
Yeah,
it.
you're gonna need big things, basically.
Yeah.
I think sorry about that.
Last but not least, where's Saturday?
Oh, I love it, and I brought a flyer for anybody who's interested, so.
Are you cooking? I'll be cooking.
Last minute request.
Would you eat flautas if I make them?
Absolutely, yes. So it's from 11 to 2 at Living Hope, where we host our Friday night cafe on this Saturday, the 27th. If you do truly want to cook, but totally not expected, if you want to, just let me know. We'll have a table ready for you, but otherwise, just show up. It'll be a good time. And there's going to be some great dessert there, I guess.
Absolutely.
And the award-winning things are getting added to the menu, I believe?
Yeah, so then our winning, so people
So you
come
could have
and they
your
vote with
flower
their
truck,
money,
right?
so that's why this is a moneymaker. It's $25 at the door for the general public to come in, and then, if, I love this, here's $10 here. So then that money will be matched by ICD as well, but then, you're right, the winning dishes are like our specialty items on the menu.
So, I mean, they pay $25 if they want to add a little more. I mean, if they're eating my flautas, they're gonna want to give you $100.
That's what I like to hear.
No, is that a taco?
Dude, I'm at the baking center.
So my comment's not about you or your food truck. I would say my comment would be for this council in general. 6 months ago, 5 months ago, we had a big discussion about a corner van. Do we use money? Do we not use money? We know where that went. Then we decided to have the commissioners and go together, If we really want this food truck, then I would suggest somebody from this council get with the commissioner, get this thing together, and see what we can do, because
we don't want the food, we're just gonna donate $15,000 toward the food, which would be
No, but
$30,000.
this is
We're not buying a food truck.
I know we're not buying a food truck, but what I'm getting at is this is typical government. We say we're gonna do something, nobody does it, and then somebody comes in front of us and we give them money.
Right.
For just once, I would like to see somebody, we said we're gonna do something, let's do it, and let's follow a process. She comes back up, God bless you, and if they approve her, we have no problem, but now we're getting into this,
One of the
we
things that was
approve, you know.
discussed prior to this, I had a discussion with Greg about this, he brought it to my attention, and having owned restaurants and run restaurants for over 12 years, this is why these questions were, and I asked him these questions specifically, and at that time, he said he wasn't sure, but the young lady who was coming before us would speak on these, and evidently, I don't know if he told you, but you answered a lot of these questions in regards to this, because there is a process, portion control, and the whole works, that you're gonna have to know, because if you don't know going in that you're going blind, and I will guarantee you 100% you will fail, because 95% of restaurants fail in the first 3 years. Are you aware of that? Okay, whether it's a truck or a brick and mortar, they will fail. That's all it right on the toilet. You don't have all your ducks in a row. And that's why I was asking these questions. I am willing to help in any way that I can with my restaurant knowledge. It includes going to the commissioners, but I want to make sure that this thing is successful. Once again, it's not about how well the truck's going to do, but how we are servicing these people who want a second chance in life. and by God, we should give it to them.
Appreciate that.
Well,
I'm gonna say, I'm sorry, so.
go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I think Councilman Sims, you're on the opioid committee,
Yeah, well, yeah.
or whatever. it is.
See, this is the weird thing about it. I'll address this real quick. Remember, it was Barb and I kind of leading it with other input. And then Barb got knocked off and Laura got put on. I don't know what that process there had, but then Laura got mixed up with the, Opera House and some other stuff, and it kind of seemed to take a little bit of a back seat. And Red, I wholeheartedly agree. We need to get this committee back going to where
I mean, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
Listen, if you guys wanna, if you don't wanna put the, I've been doing a lot of thinking about government, okay? Been involved in it now for a year and a half as far as county government. It seems like when we have committees, you're kind of giving away your authority to the committee, and it comes up and we rubber stamp it. Maybe we don't want to have a committee. I mean, I don't mind telling people no. If I don't like the idea, I tell people no. It's that simple. But I just think for once, like I said, we should do what we say we're going to do, and that's what bothers me. And like I said, it's not your idea, it's not you. This is more of a council thing. This was our problem, and the commissioner's problem is nobody took the ball, because I'm sure somebody had talked to you weeks ago, and so someone should have probably said, hey, wait a minute, we were supposed to have a little committee put together, and then they're supposed to ask questions like Andy, and kind of vet them, and then they come to us.
Right.
And I would say the only way we're going to get this committee put together is if we hold our own feet to our fire and say, look, until we get the committee together, we're not going to do this.
Well, but the only other problem with that is she's under a deadline for the matching fund.
But
And so it'd be nice to get the money and double it.
I agree that, but there's other nonprofits in Porter County that didn't have the option to come in front of us either. And I can't play, I don't want to play favorites. I don't want to give everybody an opportunity. You come to the committee, you get vetted. If it's a good thing, it's a good thing.
But that being said, I have not, people knew I was on a committee, and no one has approached me.
You know what, I told Andy, it's like this. When I get on a committee, I usually end up starting the committee and calling everybody and say, hey, let's get this committee together. I'm not on the committee. It's not my job to put together the committee. I mean, if it was my job, I'd have put together the committee. We would have had some established guidelines of the who, what, where, when, and why, how much, minimums. For new startup companies, do we even approve new startup companies? Because I know some of the things Jeremy and I talked about was actually, giving to nonprofits that actually have a track record, of doing accomplishment. Because we don't want to get into the nickel and dime,
Do you have a track record, madam?
Well,
We have our transitional living and our adult ed and our.
How long has it been up and running?
Our programming has been going since 2017, the nonprofit since 2019.
And I don't mean her as being a track record, Andy, but I mean, if we want to talk track record, say, well, it's a new venture as far as the food truck.
But
I'm not getting into her situation, because again, I don't believe it's fair to talk about you and your situation. This is a council and commissioner issue that should have been solved way before you came up in front of us, in my opinion. So
I would agree, and I voted no, actually, on the last
I know
one
we did.
because of that specific reason. I'm more open to this now because we've already done it. And I like where you're going, and I get it. It's a time crunch. And I go 100% with Red. We need that committee. It needs to be.
I mean, someone has to take the ball if it really matters. Someone has to take the ball and do it.
I'll tell you why. We had a gentleman before us a couple months ago or so. that was
$10,000?
going- Pardon?
The $10,000?
That was going to hire people to work in a restaurant or what, I don't remember all the
Recovery
details.
Association.
And
Oh,
I think we ended up
right.
turning him down. Did we not turn him down?
No, we voted
No.
yes. I voted no for it, but
You voted
we.
for that?
He got it, yeah, he got it.
Okay.
He passed because, again, he talked to one of the commissioners, when he came up, I talked to a commissioner, she said I can get money.
But I agree.
I think it was ridiculous, I mean, and I love the Portage Recovery, but I mean, he's doing some great things. He's doing some great things, I have no problem with that, but it just, you go up to a commissioner and think, hey, I'm a nonprofit, you go to one or the other, and it just, it's like you're playing favoritism for whoever can get to a commissioner or a council person, and that's what we wanted to kind of shy away from, and that's why we wanted to kind of outsource it to the committee, so.
Can I ask this, could we say as a council that we're comfortable with doing it if the committee approves it? Greg gets his committee together by August 6th, gets this done, if it's done deal, and they approve it, we've already given the pre-approval, then we can vote it on September, she'll have that for her matching grant. And Happy and I agree.
And having the information.
I don't know if there's a time to do it.
I'll be honest with you, if I can use this
Yeah.
situation to get a committee formed the way we said we were gonna do it 6 months ago, by all means, I just want the committee formed, and let's do what we said we were going to do 6 months ago. That's all I ask. And if we do that, then God bless her, and God bless your food truck.
Yeah, because when we started that committee, initially I was going to be on it, but for whatever reason, only 2 council, and then I was off of it, so that, I have no problem with that, but like I said, I'm going to ask these questions, especially when it comes to food-related items, because that was an industry I worked with.
Yeah, it's a tough industry.
So you better believe it.
Food business is a tough industry.
I made money, especially during Popcorn Fest, for the entire year. I didn't have to open my doors after that. However, it's a rough industry. I saw farming. I went, I'm leaving restaurant, going into farming, where the base root of everything is. But I'd be willing to help you with that, with your committee, if you need it, in regards to this particular subject, because it's something that I've done, I know about, and own my own restaurants.
Harold, what do we need, a motion?
Well, let me just say that I'm gonna go back, I think that our, the committee, I think what we voted on, if I remember right, was a process.
Okay.
Not so much, I don't know if it was committee, maybe the word was committee, but we
I don't know,
voted on
process
having
or
a
something.
process.
It was a committee.
To review the opioid money.
Yeah, it was a committee.
And it's been several months, we have not been presented with any process, this is not having to do with your program. So, I think we're getting ahead of ourselves if we approve anything tonight until we're presented with the legitimate process. And it isn't just on who decides what should get money and what shouldn't, because, again, with Red, we had the coroner here, one of our, county employees, and we had, her request using opioid money for a coroner van, and I think that's kind of what got us started. Then the gentleman came back twice, we gave him money 2 times, so that's when we voted on a process. I think if we do anything tonight other than, stick to that vote, we're kind of going against what we voted for 5 months ago. So you say it's in flux, I don't know what that means exactly, but it sounds,
Did the commissioners pass anything?
No, they're waiting for our support.
No, not this, I'm not talking about.
For the opioid?
For the,
No.
because I had talked to Barb, she had asked me about this a Saturday ago, and I said, Barb, listen, and I told her exactly what I'm saying in public,
And this has nothing to do with...
Yeah, like, again, this has nothing to do with you, this
No.
is, like I said, this is strictly a council commissioner issue that, needs to get addressed if we want to spend opioid money, we hope, because there were some issues with spending opioid money, or I think at one meeting, we even said, we're not going to spend opioid money, we're going to let it build up, and hopefully,
So we have a process.
we do something
There's
big.
a lot of
or-
money in the fund right now.
Yeah.
How much?
About $3 million.
$3 million is Porter County.
And so the other thing I wanted to bring up too is not just the opioid fund. I know Gary Gurman sent us last year an article about, trying to spend some of the opioid funds on a prosecutor program. And I've asked Gary, hey, you've asked for more people, put together a program for us to review to see if we can spend some of that opioid money to help us with the general fund, to help us with our costs. I mean, I'm willing to help to spend the money on programs and people, but it just, like I said, for once in my life, I would just like to see, a government program get established before.
Yeah, the money's there, it's just a matter of having...
Harold, can we do
having
this?
a process to be able to spend it and take a vote, but there is no vote.
Okay, well, let me just read this here. If we make a motion that we express support for approaching at next month's meeting the requested 15,000 opiate points contingent upon commissioners' approval of the same, by that time, we can also have this committee, would that be...
You can make a motion however you craft it. You can make the motion just as you said, with another contingency, that contingent that the committee, that it has been, that the opioid committee reviews it, and that the opioid committee be formed before the next meeting, that they review it, and that the monies be contingent on the commissioner's approval. So you can do it however you want to do it. If you're worried about having that committee in place, you can make the motion contingent on the committee being formed and reviewing it. It's going to have to be a very expedited process, certainly, but, yeah.
Well, basically, the committee was formed, and the committee members are... you,
Really,
Laura,
well,
Blaney.
it was talked about, but nothing has been really solidified. But it was, originally it was Barb and I, and and Jeremy, and then...
And 2 citizens, was it not?
Well, we never got to the citizen point because there was we never got that far. And then it switched from Barb to Laura. But if I
Maybe put Barb back on it.
I know.
I mean, she likes to listen, I give her credit when credit's due. You give her something to do, she'll hop on it. I'll give her that much, man.
Okay.
So, I mean, maybe put
How likely
her
is
back
Laura to
on it.
give
I don't know.
give it
but-
up, basically?
Oh, I can't
I
speak
don't
for
think-
any of them. I don't know. I don't know.
Talk to her. I mean,
But-
they're in the committee.
But here's the thing, to move this, I'd like to make a motion that the council express support for appropriating at next month's meeting, requested $15,000 opioid funds contingent on the commissioner's approval of the same. So I'm gonna throw that motion out there, and so we can get this thing rolling forward.
I'll second.
Okay.
We have a motion and a second on, what you just said.
Yeah.
But I really agree 100% with Red. We need that committee.
We need that committee, yeah.
And I will, yes, that would be, yes.
Can we make it
Is that
part of
you
your
come
motion,
with
Greg?
to us next month? Fine, I'll come to this on me sitting in that
We
seat.
should make a motion, we don't give the money out until, we can approve the concept. We don't give the money out until the committee's formed and she's approved. She don't need it until September, so.
Right, all we're doing is we're telling the commissioners that we are giving consent to move it forward.
I understand that, but not the consent to move it forward. My consent is about getting this so-called committee of whoever was supposed to be on it actually formed and put some guidelines in place, so we don't have other people with, food trucks one day, hiring other people the next day. I mean...
Well, this is a nonprofit, we'll open it up. Any nonprofit comes before us asking for opioids.
But again, it's gonna be up to the committee to set those guidelines. They might say, look it, you might have to be in business 3 to 5 years. Well, maybe we don't wanna do,
Can I make a
this
suggestion?
or that, or Harold have at it.
Why don't, if you possibly amend your motion to expressing the council's approval of appropriating at the next month's meeting the $15,000, contingent on the commissioners approving it, and further contingent on the opioid committee approving it
There you go.
as well. Okay. I mean, that way...
I have no problem with that.
if
I would
the opioid committee amend that, you want to amend your
I'll
second?
amend my second.
Okay, that sounds
I mean,
perfectly...
that-
That way, that sounds perfectly...
You gotta go quick, because you only got
Absolutely.
till August 8th.
You'd have to have making phone calls tonight.
You're gonna have to get the committee together
Yes.
and,
Yes.
yeah.
And ultimately, too, just so we know we have a committee, but the committee's always a recommendation.
Correct.
For us going forward. so-
Absolutely.
Right, no.
Oh, absolutely.
Could
I
you,
agree.
good sir, when you get this committee together, advise us who's on it and where you're at, give us updates as to...
Absolutely.
So this way, we're all comfortable knowing that what the committee is doing, who's on it, and how soon we can get there.
Absolutely.
Because I know you're under a time crunch, but we've got to know.
Right.
And I mean, every single one of us, even Jeremy who's not here, but that would be okay, sir.
I think Jeremy might be on it.
I think
Yeah.
Andy-
Well, Jeremy is
I talked to him
But I
today,
think
yeah.
Andy
Yeah.
did
Jeremy-
volunteer.
is it Jeremy?
I volunteered to be on it, but they said
Me
they
and
only
Jeremy.
needed... Yeah, I volunteered to be on it, but they said only 2 county councils.
Well, you're on the tourism board now.
I know.
Yeah.
We have a motion and a second
Just a
on
punish-
Carol's
punishment.
amended, whatever your verbiage. So, what are we doing here? Are we in a roll call or?
Yep.
We have a roll call on that motion, with all of the contingencies
The contingency, yeah.
for August 6th.
Mr. Brickner,
No.
Mr. Stone,
Yes.
Mrs. Grant,
Yes.
Mr. Sims,
Yes.
Mr. Bozak,
Yes.
Mr. Vasquez,
Yes.
5.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you all very, very much.
Thank
Here's
you
the
for your
flyer,
time.
you could
share that out, and you might like.
Now, you know, somebody,
Keep us updated on how this goes once
I
it's
will.
Right.
too. If you
Sam.
don't mind, everyone.
Thank you.
Because if you drop the ball at any step, I guarantee you, we're gonna say
You know
no.
where to find me.
Sam, somebody up here makes really good chili. I was told they make really good chili, I don't know who, but somebody in the center makes really good chili. Sylvia?
That's something we can talk about after.
Who, Red?
If you want.
He's ignoring.
We gotta have one,
Thank you all.
one recall on that.
Big chili fan, I'm interested.
I'm not doing it, but, no.
Well, Andy was,
I'm not doing it.
Andy was very approval. Andy, how about you being on? Andy Bozak.
Bozak, the other Andy, thank you for clarifying that.
How about you being on this
Committee.
I won't have time, I'll be for vacation for 2 weeks. Before August 6th. Only this weekend.
Well,
Not public knowledge, don't put
It'll
that.
get done. That's why you gotta love contingencies,
Okay,
because
you, Don.
she might not get some money.
Do we have any other,
Everybody knows my public comment.
well, we have any other matter before the council? Okay, I'm going to move on to public comment. Any public, anybody from the public like to speak? Going once?
There's no mic.
Oh, you can.
You must speak loudly.
Two things real quick. I think that's a great idea. She's talking, but if I could get her info your email. I do restaurant consulting and stuff on the side. I'd love to help you out with that.
Thank you.
The ribs! The ribs!
Yes.
Ribs on the run.
Is that just going on you?
We're making all kinds of sales.
So a little more serious. I wasn't sure if you guys were aware. I was talking to a few city officials and town officials, and the commissioner's office reached out for them. If Belleville, Portage, Chesterton, and one other town get together, they can vote for a public safety tax. I don't know exactly what's happening with that, but to me, that kind of goes against what you guys are here for. I don't know if you were aware of it, but you should be. And I feel like 49% of the population won't be represented if that's the case. And I personally think it makes you guys look bad. I'm not saying for or against a public safety tax by any means, but to take away the voice of the South County or east part of the county, I just don't think that's right. So I just thought you guys should be aware of it.
Well, good sir, you say you're neither for nor against, it's gotta be one or the other, now we're stating publicly, I'm against it.
You're against the public safety.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and that's fine.
At this time, it's not a good idea.
I mean, I just don't think it's right that there are two cities in the county and, a couple towns can get together and the rest of the county loses representation.
I think this is a lot more complex subject that we need to talk about.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
There's a lot of moving parts to this. A lot of moving parts.
To the property tax or to the commissioner?
Well, whether it be the public safety tax, whether it be a tax just raising general lit, I think before you pass any tax, I think we have to understand the figures, we have to understand what's going on, we have to roll it out to the public, which is the most important thing, get public input, we have to know, what do the police officers need, what do the firefighters, what do they need first, and then come up with a plan on how to fund stuff. As everybody's seen tonight, I'm going to make this point because I'm going to say where everybody sees tonight. We are about $3.5 million new money for 2025 for roads in Willow Creek and some of those. That's just $3.5 million for that. We have Lee for IT, which is not public safety. This is IT. We're looking at $500,000 for the next 4 or 5 years to, upgrade all the infrastructure. That right there is what, in 1 year, $4 million. I mean, that's for what some of the county issues are. Ambulance service, that could be considered, public safety. We could use some of that money, but there's a lot of moving parts to the public safety. Who gets what? What does the police get? What does E911 get? What does ambulance get? What does the prosecutor can get money? We could actually bond off the public safety money for the jail. I mean,
Even roads.
the corner, I mean,
Safety.
there's a lot of things to talk about, and to try and think someone's going to do this in a month or 2 or 3 is irresponsible. It needs to be talked about, we need to have, I would say, we had Baker Tilly, I think we have, 36 different funds they were gonna look at to see what our revenues were gonna be, and we know we're short revenues, I mean, we all know that, we're short revenues. But just in the public safety sector, I think there's like 36 different funds that they were gonna do an analysis on. That study's gonna take a couple months, if we even commission the study. So, there's lots of things that need to be talked about before, someone can, in my opinion, whether you can say you're for or against, because once you look at it, you might go, wow, I didn't realize we're in this bad a shape, or you might say, well, maybe we can take it from here, maybe we can do this, so.
And to your point,
it has
that's
to be
why
a
I'm
big
against
discussion.
this. That's why I'm against it, to just go ahead and willy-nilly do this.
You can't willy-nilly, you can't willy-nilly the people of Porter County.
Exactly.
You can't do that.
You
Right,
can't.
I agree.
And
You
so,
can't do it.
we have to look at it, we just can't say, let's go ahead and do it, and that's why I'm against this, because we need more information from, and we gotta find out what our needs, not wants, because there's a lot of wants out there too.
Yes.
Okay? We gotta go with the base core needs, and if it's gonna take us a while to get there, then understand people, granted, we need money, but you don't wanna put a tax in place that, once it's in there, Sylvia, you've been here a while.
That's exactly right. Once you pass the tax, it's there, it's forever.
And to clarify what you're saying, this isn't something that, I think our path would be the harder path. They feel it's the easier path to take it to the cities and towns and get them to vote.
I just feel it.
You're not wrong.
People lose
Right.
representation.
You're right.
You bring up a very good point, that there might not be all the voices being heard with those that are speaking.
And I think if the county enacted it, then you're looking at the cities and the towns not really getting the representation of really what are they buying for their tax increase either. So that's why I said it really has to be,
Ideally, a joint or a group discussion and not
A
one.
referendum.
because what Portage might need.
Bring it to the vote, yes.
You know,
exactly.
and here's what I'm saying, what Portage or Valpo might need, the county might not need. With the fire, we have the police, the E911 and different things. So, I mean, there's different needs in the county as well, so.
Ambulance service.
Well, the commissioners are taking care of
Ambulance
that.
service, that's a big one. The ambulance service is gonna be a big one. So we got the $3.5 million, we got the ambulance service coming up, that's gonna be more than double. We have Lee, which is IT, I mean, I think that's kind of a big thing nowadays, right? So we're looking at
Yeah.
some money that's gonna have to be spent throughout the county.
Right. Yeah.
Good conversation.
But it's gotta be an open conversation with the public.
Yeah, it's a conversation we're gonna have to have, though.
Yep,
That was fun.
Anyone else?
Anything else?
You want to stir the pot anymore?
There you go, troublemaker.
Anybody else have anything to share with the public comment?
I do, but the health department and Barb happen to be gone. They say, how much money came from the Healthy Indiana plan, the SB4, for the remodel? I know it's $1 million.
338 plus 175,000.
What was it?
338 for 2025, 338,000.
And that came out of the SB4 fund?
Well, they
The
call it
Healthy Indiana plan?
HFI 2025.
Yes.
Is that the same?
It's 10%, yes, each year. So this year it would be $175,000, next year it would be $330,000, roughly $500,000 total.
Which they are allowed to legally take.
Used in capital improvements.
Right.
Didn't we opt in for other reasons than remodeling the health department? Curious.
That's all it could be used for.
Well, then they're double dipping, because if you're getting money from ARPA and then you're taking money from the SB4 fund.
From what I understand, from what I was told, like Commissioner Rick, that they put out bidding in that, and it came in a little bit better than what they expected. And I think Carrie was told that it couldn't happen unless she was somehow able to figure out how she could come up with the money. Because like we've heard here tonight, we don't have that money in our surplus at all. And she came up with it, and right legally, and there was a process, and she did it.
We still have to approve that.
Anything else? Any other public comment?
Once, twice, consider the public comment closed. Attorney report.
I don't have anything new other than just dovetailing on what has been already discussed in terms of the public safety tax and the lit and some of the local municipalities possibly trying to make some moves without out from under the council. My thought is I would put together, Sylvia had several questions of me about these kinds of questions as well. I was going to put together just a brief summary of the law as it pertains to some of these issues for the council members. Yeah, just so that everyone has a good idea about what we're looking at and can intelligently respond to some of these issues that are going to be obviously coming up here over the next.
If the city's pass a public safety, if the county passes public safety tax, I don't think the cities would be able to.
Well, and that's the question.
So what they're
the
trying
cities
to
out
do,
from underneath, out from underneath us, and do we?
Trying to expedite their, so because if we pass one countywide, the cities can't do it. So I think they're.
But if they pass one, we get, so
Yeah,
it's the same thing, it's just one of us has to pass it.
But again, but here's the thing. Let's just say if you raise it .5, our current lit's .5, we raise it .5, there's different buckets it can go to. You can go to public safety, you can go to jails, you can go to, there's different, regular lit. If they pass a public safety tax and it goes all to public safety, we're still starved for money, for IT, for roads, for bridges. So that's where we, as a council, and the fiscal body, we need to understand what are the needs of public safety, what are the needs of the rest of the county, and not, if the city just passed public safety, that might help a little bit of our situation, but it's not helping our whole situation, if that makes sense.
No, I was just
well, and one of
right?
no, I agree. And one of the things that what I was thinking of is just the limited review of, how the council might respond or the county might respond to some of these municipalities trying to, on their own, pass this public safety tax. I agree with you 100%. I think that from a county perspective, there's a lot more to take into consideration than just public safety issues. There's plenty.
We have a ton of stuff that we have to.
But I just want to make sure that the council has the knowledge of what some of these municipalities may be able to do separate apart from us, and what our response could be or preemptively.
And that's why in the short term I had proposed with our foundation going from 3.25% to 5%, which is statutorily we can take. We're only taking 3.25% to give us some breathing room for this year or next year till we can talk about what revenues do we need, what does Jeff need, what does what do some of these department heads need? I mean, there's a great, Mike Jabo, we need $3-4 million for paving and for some of the roads.
Well, just to share with the group, I would be hesitant to pass any tax while we have close to $185 million in foundation until we get a little more creative on how we can maximize that funding source. I know we've done it since the implementation of the foundation. We've done it a certain way for a lot of years, and maybe it's time to reevaluate how we're utilizing that, because I know people in the county are struggling with the property taxes going up and inflation and everything else, and I'm not saying, I think all options are on the table, but I think we would have to really look and see if we are using that money to the best of its ability, and see if there's a way, whether it's an option that Red just mentioned, or to look at spending the principal, but to tax our citizens right now, while we have that funding sitting there, I would be hard pressed to want to raise a tax at this point. But we all know that the general fund is not going to continue to sustain our county needs in the future.
And just so you know, that's why when Mike Jabel was talking about these numbers, I told you, I said, I feel sick to my stomach, because if we take statutorily 5% out of the foundation fund, we take currently 3.25%, it's gonna get us roughly, on our smoothing amount, around $3 million extra, okay? Well, hell, with Mike Jabel and IT, it just ate that up. So, this is just gonna kind of be a Band-Aid till we can really figure out, put our heads together, what do we need to do in the county? And unfortunately, this has come up at election time, which in my opinion is not a good time, because if, all of us need to be on board with this, and all of us need to really understand what the needs of the county are,
Well, I agree with what Mike says, that it is sad when we have this much money in our foundation and we have to raise taxes. But we do have the lowest tax rate, and I will say, our taxes haven't gone up, our assessments are going up, and that is why they're paying more for taxes.
I get it.
Now, in my opinion, I can appreciate what you're saying. Maybe we do need to raise it to free up some more money. We do have the legal right to take up to 5%. That's something we may want to talk about. Just to go right to the, but it's something we need to evaluate.
This is gonna take time. This is not gonna be a
That's
2, 3,
exactly
4
right.
month issue. This is gonna be, and that's why I was trying to propose this, is if we can do this with the foundation, give us some breathing room, and then, like we've been having our Thursday meetings,
Yes.
we have a Thursday meeting, which everybody's invited to, and we can sit down and talk logically, get Baker Tillian, okay, where's our revenues? Who's short? Jeff
Yeah,
Allen,
we
what
don't
are you
have
looking
much
for?
time to try
We
to
know what
do
Mike
that.
Jabel's looking for. They're looking for a lot of money
Right, and we have an
themselves.
idea a little bit about what IT is.
Yeah, we know what IT's looking for, but there's,
Yes. Those are two big items. So what you're proposing is, I wouldn't mind discussing that, but I don't know if I'd go up to the full 5, but we need to find out what our needs are. And I think we all have a kind of an idea of what, we're all a little bit uncomfortable sitting in these chairs because we know what's before us coming up to this budget. But, so we do have our work cut out for us today. It's something that we've all been here before. I have, and we figured it out before and can do it this time too. If we work together, we can do it.
Harold, I got a question. When these cities are thinking about raising this tax that affects us, do they ever communicate with us? Like, or do they know that it's gonna affect us too?
Well, that's the issue I
They
think,
do?
that's the issue I would like to address for the council in terms of just what's the legal landscape when it comes to the municipalities making these decisions or considering these decisions, and how it impacts us and what our response or potential response could be. So I would hope that they do know that, but I think it's important, and that's why I suggested for the council to have a better idea about what the legal landscape is, given that these municipalities are talking about this.
Well, how do we do that?
Yeah, what recourse would we have if they do something like
But
that?
that's what I think that's what we need to, that's what I need to address for the council. I agree.
I mean, is that just maybe you talking to their lawyers or something, or?
Well, my thought would
Jail.
be is initially, let's take a look, let's educate ourselves statutorily on what they can do, and then we can make some decisions about what the next steps would be in terms of approaching them, and,
Okay.
Appreciate
just
that, Harold.
my two cents, yeah.
Because if they pass that 0.5%, that hamstrings us big time. as
Right,
far as
that's
for the
what we
rest
need
of
to
the
know.
county.
We need to be in
I mean,
that zone.
I don't know what anybody's proposing, I don't know what and if they did and say, we're subjected to it, well, now,
What recourse do we
Right.
have?
When I was
really-
told they're working with, Harold, but who's Scott? So you might want to talk to Scott, see if he knows anything.
I have
Yeah,
also
yeah.
reached out to a couple of council people, in a city, and they told me they're not interested at all.
Yeah, I have no clue.
I
I just
mean,
heard
I
about
have
this a
been
month ago,
reaching
so.
out.
Yeah, it's being spearheaded by one community.
I just heard about this
And
a
they're
month
trying to
ago,
get it
so.
done.
Oh, okay. Well,
But I think what we need to do, we do have $50,000 from last year's budget that we did have for Baker Tilly to come in and give us options, the who, what, where, when, and why. I talked to Ryan, this was going back a year when Jeremy was president, I was vice president. He had asked me to help him negotiate the fee and some different things. And we didn't end up doing it, got pulled out from the commissioners. But maybe the commissioners need to, approve that contract. And like I said, it's going to be 3, 4, 5 months for them to dive into all those accounts and really understand what our needs are. But, maybe that's something we get going on sooner than later, because it seems like,
we need to know.
it's coming, yeah, we need to know.
Thank you, Harold, for doing that.
Yes.
Thank you, Harold.
Anything else, group?
Motion to adjourn. Second.
Huh?
Motion to adjourn? Second.
We have a motion, a second to adjourn.
Thank you.
All those in favor?
Aye.